In every dictatorship, there is one man the tyrant keeps close, not out of trust, but out of fear. For Mao Zedong, that man was Chen Yun, the quiet economist who understood power, numbers, and human cost better than Mao ever could. He helped build the party. He funded its survival. He kept the economy from collapsing more than once. And Mao hated him for it. Because Chen Yun saw the truth behind Mao's fantasies. And in the Mao era, truth was a dangerous thing to know. Chen Yun did not enter the revolution with a gun. He entered with numbers. Born in 1905 in Shanghai's working-class lanes, he grew up quiet, thin, observant. The kind of child who listened more than he spoke. His skill appeared early. He understood money, structure, and discipline long before he understood politics. By 1925, he joined the Communist Party. While others shouted slogans, Chen sorted membership rolls, tracked funds, corrected mistakes. He didn't fight for power. He made the machine run. That made him valuable. In 1927, when Chiang Kai-shek's purge tore the party apart, Chen Yun survived because he was invisible. No heroics, no battlefield glory, just a man who slipped through the chaos with documents hidden in his clothes. Through the 1930s, as the party retreated, fractured, and bled, Chen Yun did something rare in a collapsing revolution. He built order. He organized supply routes. He managed scarcity. He kept the party's finances intact while armies starved around him. Mao noticed. By Yan'an, Chen Yun had become the party's economic brain. The man brought into rooms not to flatter Mao, but to fix Mao's disasters. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar described him as a stabilizing force in a movement built on instability. By 1945, after Japan's surrender, as civil war reignited between the communists and nationalists, Chen Yun handled logistics, resources, and the underground financial networks that kept the party alive. He was not famous. He did not seek it. But inside the leadership, everyone knew. The revolution survived because Chen Yun made the numbers add up. And when the communists seized Beijing in 1949, Mao Zedong stood on the platform as the face of victory. But behind him, quietly, stood Chen Yun, the man who had already saved Mao's revolution more times than Mao would ever admit. He was loyal. He was disciplined. He was indispensable. And Mao hated men he could not fully control. Chen Yun enters the 1930s as something rare inside the party. A man who understands money better than ideology. While Mao talks in slogans, Chen talks in numbers. While the party argues about class struggle, Chen argues about grain output, inflation, wages, and budgets. And Mao notices him, not because he is loyal, but because he is useful. By 1933, during the party's financial crisis in the Jiangxi Soviet, Chen Yun is the one they call. Supplies are collapsing. Currency is worthless. The Red Army is starving. Chen studies the ledgers, analyzes the flow of goods, examines where the money disappears. Then he does the impossible. He stabilizes the economy inside a collapsing guerrilla base. According to historian Roderick MacFarquhar, Chen Yun was the only early CCP leader who treated economics as a science, not a slogan. This is when Mao understands something important. Chen Yun is not a theorist. He is a problem solver. And in a revolution run by poets and fighters, a problem solver is priceless. During the Long March, 1934 to 1935, Chen does not fight. He calculates. He measures food. He organizes supplies. He manages finances like a surgeon handling a dying patient. He keeps the army moving. And Mao sees that too. By the time they reach Yan'an, most leaders are wounded, exhausted, or politically damaged. Chen Yun arrives with something more valuable than strength: competence. In Yan'an, while Mao builds his ideological empire, Chen builds something else: a controlled, disciplined economic system that actually works. He fixes taxes, he stabilizes currency, he organizes trade, he brings order to chaos. And that makes Mao uneasy, not yet afraid, but aware. When the party finally wins the Civil War in 1949, Mao becomes chairman, but the new nation is drowning in hyperinflation and economic ruin. There is only one man Mao can trust with the national economy. Not because he likes him, but because Chen Yun is the only one who can save the country from financial collapse. And Mao knows it. Chen Yun steps into Beijing as the quiet architect of China's survival. But he also steps into something else: Mao's growing suspicion. Because Mao does not fear generals. He does not fear scholars. He does not fear rivals. He fears the man who understands the numbers behind the revolution. The man who can tell him when the truth contradicts his dreams. Chen Yun, the only man in the Communist Party who can say no and be right. When Mao launched the Great Leap Forward in 1958, most officials applauded. The slogans were loud, the promises were impossible, and the numbers, grain, production, steel output, were pure fiction. Chen Yun didn't applaud. He looked at the reports with the cold eyes of an accountant. He saw the lies buried under inflated numbers. He saw the missing grain. He saw the lack of reserves. And he saw what was coming: a national famine. According to historian Roderick MacFarquhar, Chen Yun warned Mao as early as 1959 that China was feeding illusions, not people. But Mao didn't want warnings. He wanted miracles. He wanted records broken, not realities exposed. Chen Yun stopped arguing. He started preparing. He quietly sent inspectors to villages. He gathered real numbers. He mapped out shortages. And he built the first internal report that showed the disaster for what it truly was: tens of millions on the edge of starvation. While Mao blamed rightists and saboteurs, Chen Yun did the one thing no one else dared. He pressured the party to reopen rural markets, allow limited private plots, and restore grain procurement to realistic levels. This became known as the birdcage economy. Chen Yun's idea that the market could move, but only inside a cage controlled by the state. By 1962, these emergency measures helped stabilize food supply and end mass starvation. But Mao never forgot who had saved China. Because in Mao's mind, saving China from Mao was an unforgivable act. After the famine, Mao retreated from the front line of governance. For a brief moment, men like Chen Yun, Liu Shaoqi, and Deng Xiaoping repaired the country's destroyed economy. Chen Yun worked quietly, always quietly. He rebuilt grain reserves, restored rationing systems, balanced budgets, and stabilized urban supply chains. He warned the party again and again: China must never repeat the Great Leap Forward. But Mao was watching. To Mao, Chen Yun was now more than an economist. He was a a symbol of a different path, a China run by pragmatists instead of revolutionaries. Historian Frederick Teiwes notes that by 1964, Mao privately accused Chen Yun of taking the capitalist road. Not publicly, not yet. Mao never struck immediately. He waited. He watched. He built the case. Chen Yun felt the shadow closing. At Politburo meetings, Mao ignored him. At party conferences, Mao mocked those who worship numbers. Everyone understood who he meant. But Chen Yun did not fight back. He did not speak out. He did what had saved him for decades. He lowered his head. He stepped back. He made himself small, but not silent. Before Mao launched his next storm, Chen Yun quietly secured allies, archived financial records, and created fallback economic plans, documents that would later help rebuild China after Mao's death. He knew the purge was coming. He knew he could not stop it. All he could do was survive it. And survival, for Chen Yun, was never an accident. It was a calculation. When the Cultural Revolution erupts in 1966, Chen Yun immediately understands something most party leaders refuse to see. This isn't politics anymore. It's Mao's vengeance against anyone who remembers his failures. Chen Yun remembers everything. That makes him a target. Red Guards break into ministries, libraries, private homes. Posters appear, calling him the capitalist accountant, the man who wants to save the rich, the right-wing economist hiding behind numbers. Chen Yun knows what these labels mean. He lived through the 1930s purges. He saw what happened in Yan'an. He knows Mao's language. Capitalist rotor means you will be destroyed. But unlike Liu Shaoqi or Deng Xiaoping, Chen Yun does not resist. He disappears. Not physically, but politically, strategically, silently. He stops attending important meetings, stops giving speeches, stops offering advice. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar writes that Chen Yun survived the Cultural Revolution not by fighting Mao, but by becoming invisible. The party sends Red Guards to interrogate him. They expect fear, tears, confession. Instead, they find a man who answers every question with the same calm, empty sentence: "I obey the chairman." It is not loyalty, it is survival. By 1969, Chen Yun is placed under supervised isolation. No torture, no public humiliation, just removal, the softest form of political death. Because Mao does not fear Chen Yun the reformer. He fears Chen Yun the memory, the man who knows the numbers, the man who can prove where Mao failed. And so, during the darkest years of the Cultural Revolution, Chen Yun lives quietly, waiting, counting the days, knowing that Mao's storms never last forever. But the economy always does. When the Cultural Revolution erupts in May 1966, Chen Yun sees immediately what others refuse to see. This is not a movement. This is a purge disguised as a revolution. Mao wants chaos. Chaos has no rules. And a man like Chen Yun, cautious, methodical, always pointing to economic limits, cannot survive in chaos. Within weeks, Red Guards target senior officials, but they never shout Chen Yun's name in the streets. They are never told to. Mao does something more chilling, more deliberate. He makes Chen Yun disappear, not arrested, not paraded, not denounced in public, just removed. Historian Roderick MacFarquhar wrote that Chen Yun was too respected to attack, too independent to trust. So Mao chooses a silent punishment. Chen Yun is forced out of Beijing. He is relocated to a secluded compound in Zhongnanhai, then to a quiet residence near Shanghai, cut off from colleagues, decisions, and authority. He is given no duties, no position, no voice. For a man who built the party's financial system, who fed the army during the Civil War, who designed the first national budget, silence is the cruelest sentence. While factions tear each other apart, Chen Yun listens to radio broadcasts alone. He reads the party newspapers that avoid mentioning his name. He hears about Liu Shaoqi, beaten, exiled, dead. Deng Xiaoping purged, vanished. He long tortured until his bones broke. Senior leaders committing suicide one after another. Chen Yun remains still. He knows Mao's rule better than anyone. When the chairman wants blood, resistance is suicide. Endurance is survival. For 5 years, Chen Yun becomes a ghost inside his own country. Not trusted, not destroyed, just waiting, watching. Because he knows something tragic and inevitable, China cannot remain in chaos forever. And when the chaos finally burns out, someone will have to rebuild what Mao shattered. And Mao knows exactly who that someone is. That is why Mao keeps Chen Yun alive. When Mao Zedong dies on September 9th, 1976, China enters a power vacuum. Silence hangs over Zhongnanhai. The kind of silence that comes after a storm has finally destroyed itself. Chen Yun does not celebrate. He waits. He watches the Gang of Four fall. He watches Hua Guofeng try to claim Mao's mantle. He watches the Communist Party panic as the country teeters between chaos and collapse. For the first time in decades, someone says a forbidden sentence inside the leadership: we must fix the economy. Only one man is trusted enough. One man who knew how China worked. Before Mao twisted it into disaster. Chen Yun. He returns quietly in 1977. Older, slower, but sharper than everyone around him. He opens the files Mao hid. He studies the numbers Mao banned. He reads the agricultural reports Mao burned. According to historian Roderick MacFarquhar, Chen Yun came back like an accountant arriving after a king's long madness. And what he finds is worse than he imagined. Factories dead, farms broken, currency meaningless, starvation still haunting the countryside. He does not blame Mao publicly. He never will. But he begins rebuilding China in a way Mao would have hated. Caution over chaos. Numbers over slogans. Stability over fantasy. When Deng Xiaoping re-emerges in 1978, Chen Yun does not fight him. He supports him. But on one condition: reform must have a cage. A bird can fly, but not too far. This becomes Chen Yun's doctrine, a formula historians call the birdcage economy. Market experimentation locked inside strict state control. It is the exact opposite of Maoism, and it works. By 1980, China begins its first real recovery, since Mao seized power in 1949. Foreigners credit Deng. Younger party members credit themselves. But inside the party archives, in the memos, the budgets, the secret discussions, Chen Yun's fingerprints are everywhere. The man Mao feared, the man Mao tried to sideline, the man who survived every purge without bending, became the architect of China's escape from Mao's economic ruins. He outlived the emperor, and after the empire fell, he quietly rebuilt the bones of the state from the rubble Mao left behind.